we're online.
Great. So good evening, everyone, and welcome to our second brainstorm talk with the topic, how can AI help build a more inclusive post-COVID-19 world? Welcome again, and without further ado, I will share with you some important information that will rule this meetup, I would say. So first of all, I think it's important for all of you to know that this meeting is being recorded. So in case any of you wants to switch off their cameras, please feel free to do so. Also, please make sure that you are muted and will remain muted for the duration of the conversation. This being said, you will have an opportunity to, of course, unmute yourself and exchange with other people connected to this meetup later on in the breakout session. And last point, last but not least, if you have any questions, if there is anything you would like to share with us, please use the chat function. As you know, it's somewhere on the right side bar on Zoom. And maybe let's just try the chat function. Let's make sure that it really works for everyone, as we want to have this interaction quite collaborative and interactive. So Laura from Jamba has prepared amazing icebreakers for us. And maybe let's start with a very easy one. If you could share with us how you feel today. How do you feel about this talk? Are you excited? Are you, are you tired maybe? Are you bored? Whatever. So please just feel free to share that with us on Slack, on the chat. We would love to see your comments. Excited, yes, I already see something coming in. Thank you very much. And I hope others are also excited, and I hope the chat function works for everyone. All right, let's go to the second question very quickly as well. What are you most passionate about? So what is that? Is that music, that arts, painting, people in general, technology, maybe artificial intelligence? What cannot be? Please share that with us as well. Feel free, and make sure you respond to everyone, not in private. And all right, so maybe one last try. What's one thing you really look forward to post-COVID? What is the one thing you would really like to do once this experience, worldwide experience, will be over? Is it traveling maybe? Is it something else? Great, we see Norman is excited to be part. Flying, exactly, flying back to our families. Yes, visit family. Wonderful, great. And from traveling again, of course, definitely. And I really look forward to share a coffee with a friend. Just to sit outside and enjoy a coffee and a nice chat. Wonderful. All right, thank you very much for your for playing for now. And without further ado, I would like to give the floor to Laura from Jamba to introduce the organization and tell us a little bit more about what they do and also their partners.
Thank you, Elena. Hello, warm welcome from my side. I'm Laura, and I am part of the Jamba team here in Austria. And I just will quickly introduce for those of you that were not at the first brainstorm talk. So Jamba is the connection of between people with disabilities and the future of work. So what we're focusing on in Austria is providing job opportunities in the IT sector and support to find those type of positions. So on the screen here, I have various icons of the services we provide, and also on the bottom of the slide is the logos of our partners within Austria. And so we have training programs and workshops that we offer. We recently had a data annotation training that was accessible. We have English language classes. We work to provide internships for our community, and we provide recruitment services for organizations. We have an online job board, and we are working on an awareness campaign currently that will roll out for December 3rd, the International Disability Day. And we have exciting events coming up next year as well with an online career fair. And we're so proud of our partners and everybody that's supporting us to carry out our mission here within Austria. So yeah, encourage you to follow our social media to see our campaign that will be rolling out. We're excited about it, to share some stories of people that have successfully overcome barriers here in Austria. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much, Laura. I think it's very important for the audience to get to know the organization. A little bit about AIDA as well. As you know, this is a joint initiative from Artificial Intelligence for Development Agency and JAMBA to provide a larger public, including people with disabilities, with AI knowledge and AI education. So from our side, AIDA is a tech non-profit organization built and founded in Austria and Vienna at the beginning of last year. We are also a member of the European AI Alliance. And our products or services basically cover events and conferences, AI awareness and AI literacy programs. We also developed a program of ambassadors and volunteers around the world. We will this weekend welcome new volunteers, and we are really, really excited to have them with us. They are coming from Spain, Portugal, Ethiopia, Tanzania, and many other beautiful places in this world. And we also have a strong function in research and training. Also very grateful and happy to have partners and partners that help us in terms of, knowledge, gaining more knowledge, and also in terms of supporting our programs. What we do is basically working towards preparing everyone, in particular those that are most in need, to the new era of artificial intelligence by helping them understand how AI is shaping their lives, is shaping their futures, and also basically preparing them, I would say, for a brighter future. As I was mentioning before, this is a joint initiative. The mission is really to provide education and knowledge and also give insights into the challenges and opportunities of artificial intelligence. A vision for this series of meetup is to empower, in particular, people with disabilities. And we have a series, as I was mentioning, of 10 meetups. This is the second meetup that is taking place, second talk, and we have lined up also the next two future sessions. The third one will be on December 10th, where we will discuss leading in the era of artificial intelligence. And we have an amazing guest speaker for you coming, joining us from Pakistan. Mohsin Chan is his name. He is the CEO of the Advocacy Council, Youth Council of Pakistan, which is a member partner organization of AIDA. And for the fourth talk on January the 14th, we have two guest speakers as well that we want to bring to you. And we will talk about AI and ethics, basically. So we will look into the benefits and risks of AI systems. And the guest speakers are two amazing researchers from the TU Graz. The first one is Sebastian Dennerlein, and the second one is Christoph Wolf-Brenner. Both of us also supporters of this initiative in particular, and also of the organization AIDA. So I hope you will join us, and we'll really look forward to having you with us in these two coming sessions as well. All right, for today, we have prepared a small agenda for you. So basically, there are four main topics we would like to look into. The first one, we will present you with some challenges that people with different abilities face daily. Then we will look into how artificial intelligence is responding and adapting to people with different abilities. then you will have the opportunity to exchange with your colleagues here connected in about 20 minutes around questions on how can AI, support and develop even better solutions for these people, what would be the cost, etc. It's basically just an opportunity for you to get to know each other, and so on. And then we will conclude with some key takeaways. Maybe the groups will like to share some important points that were discussed in their breakout sessions. So would really love to have that contributions from your side and also answer any question. And now we would like to hear from Laura again, some important aspects related to people with disabilities.
Thank you, Elena. I think you need to click to do full screen because it's showing smaller to presentation mode on the slides.
Okay.
If not, it's okay. So the first slide here, there's an orange graphic of a globe and it states 1 billion people live with a disability. So that's 15% of the world's population. And this is an estimate from the World Health Organization. It's okay, Elena, you can just go ahead and move to the next slide. And this slide here, I have icons, people icons. One is in pink and 6 are in orange. So it's illustrating that 1 in 7 are living with a disability. So 1 in 7, 15% of the population, or 1 billion persons with disabilities in the world are among the hardest hit by COVID-19. You can go to the next slide. And what we know in Austria, Bulgaria, and Hungary, these are the countries where Jamba is operating. There's an estimated 3 million people with disabilities. 80% are of the working age, but unfortunately, only 12% are working. And from the work that we do, we know people with disabilities are highly motivated. They have tremendous potential and they're extremely loyal and they can be very successful within an organization. However, we need the business world to open up their mind and to open up their doors and give them an opportunity. And people with disabilities, they have equal rights. However, the opportunities that are available are not equally distributed. So we want to change the dialogue within the countries that we're operating and move away from this idea of hiring people with disabilities as a charity and to really recognize these individuals for their individual talent and the contributions that they can provide to the business world. So that's what we're actively striving to change. The next slide. Here I have a graphic of an eye with a line through it, and it's illustrating that 70% of disabilities are invisible. So what many organizations don't realize is that they are hiring people with disabilities, or they have people with disabilities within their organization. And this is something to acknowledge and is important to recognize always, but with the pandemic, it's become even more present and aware of how important it is. Next slide. So COVID-19 is teaching us that we need an approach that of availability, accessibility, acceptability, and quality are all needed in the provisions of our services. Many organizations do realize that, and we have some good examples. One of them is Microsoft. They've appointed a CAO, which is a Chief Accessibility Officer, and she is actually deaf herself, and they're creating inclusive teams with diverse abilities. And these teams are creating solutions because they understand these individual needs. And Elena, I think, is going to go in further about some of the things that they're designing at Microsoft. It's really quite fascinating. Next slide. So not only is it important for organizations, but also when we're rolling out new policies and procedures, we've seen this with COVID, how important it is to recognize individual needs. And we saw this in a quote. It was a petition to the Ministry of Health in Austria. And I'll just read the quote here. It says, "For many disabled people, it is of crucial importance that a trusted caregiver or assistant is present at the doctor's office or hospital. And this must continue to be possible." So this is just an example of during the pandemic, a new regulation was rolled out, but an individual need of someone with a disability was not considered. And just new things are coming present every day of what we need to change. Next. And with digital accessibility, I have a little key here with a person on it and lines extending from it, because we know digital accessibility is one of the keys to opening up and making our world a little more accessible. We have another example during COVID is the app Stop Corona that was rolled out in Austria was not accessible to all. And these are things that need to be taken into consideration. So another large consulting firm, Accenture, they put out a statement, and having an echo, they put out a statement saying, going forward, we plan to use artificial intelligence and advanced technologies to make navigation far easier. Our goal is to make all technology interactions accessible. So we hope to see more organizations making statements like that as well. The next slide here, I just have 3 logos of apps that are just examples of how AI is being used for accessibility. And Elena will go into further detail too, but just to go over these 3 apps, one of them is Seeing AI, which is a talking camera for the blind. And you can use it, take a picture of a person, take a picture of the text, or scan an object, and it will narrate the world around you. Another one is Ira. This is a app that you can connect with, and it will connect you with a virtual assistant, or also they're using AI assistants to navigate the world around you. This is for the blind or someone with low vision. So if they get in an area where they're lost, or they just dial in and it will navigate you and help you, support you. And the last one is Microsoft Translator. This is captioning and translation services have been around for a while, but this one is really changing the game and making large improvements to the captioning for students that are either deaf or hard of hearing. And this uses AI. It has an advanced form of automatic speech recognition. So it converts raw spoken language, so the ums and the stutters, things that I have been using throughout, it converts it to fluent punctuated text. And then the last slide here. I wanted to end with this quote from the Federal Ministry of Transport, because I think it really sums up what JUMBA and what we would like everyone to understand about accessibility is that accessibility is essential for 10% of the population, necessary for 40% of the population, and comfortable for 100% of the population. And I have here a picture of people walking on a cement accessible ramp. And it's just illustrating that when we make things accessible, it is comfortable for all. So with that, I'll pass it back to you, Elena, and thank everyone for listening. If you have any questions, just feel free to reach out to anybody on the team. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Laura. And I realize the screen wasn't, now I realize wasn't the way you wanted it. Sorry, very, very sorry for that. Just let me try to do this again, and hopefully this time right. And I please apologize. For some reason I thought I was on the on the right format.
It's no problem.
Yeah. Okay. So let's try once again.
May I have a question while I'm here? I hope you can hear me.
Yes, please go ahead while I fix my screen.
Sorry for being late, and I have some technical difficulties to join the meeting, but hopefully you can hear me now, as I understood. I have a short question to Laura. By any chance, do you have any plans, or is anything in the roadmap that Romania will be also covered in the list of the countries? I'm a Romanian, of course.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Right now we are focusing on Bulgaria, Austria, and Hungary, but we do have future plans to expand to other countries, and hopefully Romania will be one of them.
Okay, great. And I'm sorry, I hope I do not disturb with this question. What is Jamba? Maybe I just
Jamba started in Bulgaria. Eva, do you want to answer that question?
Yes, I would love to. It is nice to meet you, Valer. I hope I pronounced your name correctly.
That's correct. Thank you. It's like in Russian, Valerie, but it's fine.
Valerie, okay, awesome. It is really nice to meet you. My name is Eva. I'm one of the co-founders of Jamba.
Okay.
Yeah, we are a social enterprise and an NGO, and our mission is to support people with disabilities to attain key competencies and skills, like soft skills, English, and professional skills in different areas. As as a second step, we support them to start work in different companies.
I
So
understand. Okay, great. Thank
what
you.
we're doing.
The reason for my question is that let me put it like this. I understand the focus on the people who cannot see well or not hear well, which is well as it is. But is anything that you have planned for people who cannot walk? Because there are a lot of them.
Actually, we work with people with all kind of disabilities. We're not focused only on people with visual or hearing impairments, also with physical disabilities. And yeah, our trainings are the physical ones. They're accessible also for people in wheelchair. So this is not a challenge for us. And even that you're in Romania, you're more than welcome to join our online trainings. We also have upcoming English classes. So I think
I'm
you're very,
fortunate enough to be able to work and wash myself and take care of myself. That's fine. I'm just having some thoughts, having this experience now for some friends of some close friends. Let me put it like this.
so you can share with them about us, and we'll be happy to help if we can.
Okay. Okay. Sure. Thank you.
Wonderful. All right. So we definitely welcome exchange. We also encourage you to use the chat function. And at the end of the presentation or the talk, you will have all our contact details for both organizations to exchange with us. I'm also Romanian, and I truly believe in Jamba's mission, and I hope we'll bring it to Romania as well. All right. So I think this is a great transition for us to look into how technology basically and AI is responding and adapting to people with disabilities. So by definition, diversity implies active and inclusive participation. And when it comes to artificial intelligence systems, it's even more critical to establish strategies and partnerships that can foster genuine and holistic inclusion regarding the design for these important technologies. And you have here in the graph basically the process of inclusive AI established and highlighted. Can you please unmute yourself? We have some background noise. Or if the, thank you. So in short, the people who build technology need to be representative of the people who use that technology. And that means as much in the data collection, so the user studies, as it means in the algorithm development, basically the programmers, etc., and in the system validation rules and mechanisms to have that crucial validation in place. And for today's purposes, I would say the world, the ecosystem of AI for people with disabilities is really large, and we will not be able to go into all details. But we still wanted to share with you two main aspects and applications of AI that can support people with disabilities. First of all, intelligent prosthetics, part of robotics, as you know, is nothing really new, has been with us for a long time, is continually growing and developing and performing better and better, given the fact that we have better data sets, for instance. And then the second application of AI is part of assistive technologies, as also Lara mentioned before. And this will be actually our main focus for today. We'll really look a little bit more into that, as we also found interesting to see that the market itself, in particular during Corona, exploded with inventions and solutions that are assistive technologies to people with disabilities. And as you can see, the market is basically estimated to grow up to $26 billion by 2024. So I think this means still a huge potential for us to basically to look into this and understand a little bit better what it is. So, you know, when the touch screen replaced the physical number pad on the mobile phone, imagine how it must have affected those with visual impairments who rely on tactile feedback to dial up friends and basically send text messages. So this is really just an example of how technology can be alienating to persons with disabilities, linking with the rules, you know, that Laura was mentioning before, and how it shaped, or they were shaped during Corona time, and being exclusive and not that inclusive. So in such cases, for this kind of impediments, definitely these technologies are very, very useful. And it is also estimated that with better data sets and better technologies, machine learning can be even more you know, performant than it is currently. And hopefully this will also bring the prices of all these technologies down and making it more accessible to the large public. Now we will highlight 3 or 4 specific technologies. So we will start with alternative and augmentative communication systems. These are integral part of lives of people with disabilities, in particular people who are unable to speak due to conditions such as motor neuron disease or something else. Communications lies, of course, at the heart of learning and helps young people integrate into their social environments. The children with speech impairments resulting from conditions, as I mentioned, they very often feel isolated, and this impediment prevents them from normal interaction with others. And technology can help with that. Technology can help make them feel part of the group, part of the society. And an amazing invention is, for example, text-to-speech converters. And I have here an example of a touch chat, which is an application on iPhones and iPads provided for free that can basically help people with speech impairment spell out and construct sentences by combining different symbols, as you can see here on the screen. Basically, what it happens is that a voice will then read out the message once it has been composed through these different symbols. You can, if you want, you can think of it as a translator or a spokesperson helping to relay messages and broke conversations in an intuitive manner. This is again just an example on how AACS can be helpful for and is used for people with disabilities. Now, sometimes diseases can strive a person of mobility as well as speech. For example, stroke survivors or patients who have motor neuron diseases, as I mentioned before, could be mentally aware, but unable to communicate in any manner. So apart from blinking and gazing with their eyes. But with advanced eye tracking technology, these tiny movements are very often sufficient to open a window into an individual's mind and help them communicate. So advanced eye tracking technology, how it works is that a camera basically monitors the eye movement and uses those minute motions, I would say, to control a computer cursor. And this can then allow a person to speak their mind with their eyes. So basically, the machine will be trained by understanding how the gaze works, of the eye movement of that person works, and would basically select for the person different letters, words, or phrases, and the person would they approve or disapprove by their eye blinking or just a milliseconds of gazing a little bit longer. This way, sentences are then read out loud by an inbuilt voice assistant. So this is a second example of how AI can be helpful for people with disabilities, and I have just named a hospital in Singapore, basically, Tan Talk, that is using this technology of course, in their daily interactions with patients, and another tech provider, Tobii Tech, which claims to be the leader in eye tracking technology. Then reading a newspaper is a simple task for people with normal vision that we often take for granted. But for those with eye conditions such as cataracts and macular degeneration that basically result in low vision, making out words and sentences on a page or screen can be really troubling and also frustrating. So devices and software that magnify and raise the contrast of text can help individuals with sight impediments read. And here we are sharing with you 3 examples. There are many other solutions and softwares available. So first one is the Apple's VoiceOver, basically that allows the user to hear a description of everything that is happening on their screens, including the battery level, for instance, on their devices. And the user can even adjust the speaking rate and pitch to suit their preferences. Another example is the Facebook automatic alternative text, face and object recognition technology. So it groups basically these 3 dimensions that enable as well blind persons to consume digital content and be part of our social virtual world. And the third one is basically mobility, related to mobility and moving around. So for those who are unable to walk, the wheelchair is the most important personal mobility device of all. However, those with upper and lower limb limitations may struggle to use manual and even powered wheelchair. So as you can see, I mean, on the picture, you can see basically a wheelchair that can climb stairs, but that one still has to be powered by or maneuvered by a person who is strong enough to do that. Now, for the other category where people are not in the capacity to maneuver the wheelchair, there is a specific technology that is now under tests, for instance, around the world, but for instance in Singapore as well, where they try to motorize wheelchairs and link them with alternative interfaces, enabling them basically to, or giving the power to the user to control movement and direction with a minimum pressure of the fingers. So the way they use it in an airport, for instance, is that the user, as I said, with minimum pressure will direct the wheelchair. The airport staff just needs to press a button on the wheelchair to be recognized and marked as a safe person. And then the semi-autonomous wheelchair will then follow behind the staff, who will bring the passenger on the wheelchair to the flight gate. So this is an amazing technology. It still comes with a cost, with a price, of course. This is why we don't see this kind of wheelchairs in every airport. But there is hope that by, as I said before, by improving the technology, the price will go down, and these tools will be available also in other airports and around the world. Another 2 amazing examples I would like to mention here is Willow. Willow is an app developed in Japan that basically provides wheelchair users with a map containing information on safe and accessible routes to reach essential work, family, doctor's visits, and other meetings around the city. And the last one I will mention on this slide is Mappinhood, developed in Toronto in Canada, which is basically an app for pedestrian travel. I didn't realize until I really read about them and their work that indeed, Google Maps is very much adapted to traveling by car or traveling by public transport, but is not that well adapted to pedestrians and the risk and safety, measures involved in their journey. And the last one I would like to mention on specifics around assistive technology is basically how our daily life can be facilitated and can be made easier for in particular for people with disabilities. So again, also here, I think living independently is something that many able-bodied people take for granted, but tasks as simple as switching off the lights in the house before going to bed, etc., can be very difficult for a person with physical disabilities. So I think IoT, the Internet of Things, and other technologies are really here to help people with disabilities live more independently, have better alarm systems in case of emergency, in case they need to reach a caregiver or a family member, etc. So another type of technology and use of technology that can be very useful for people with disabilities. And I have just a few more slides I would like to share with you. So I want to share with you an EU project called Able to Include. This project is part of the inclusion agenda in Europe, and is basically a project run by the University of Leuven in Belgium and TM. They have developed, so researchers at this university have developed a technology called text-to-picture. Text-to-pictogram, sorry. So basically what it does is that this technology provides a text pictogram and a pictogram to text translation, assuring an intuitive communication between people with intellectual disabilities users and the rest of the society. So basically it's a tool that will translate between the two receivers of information. It also allows translation between different sets of pictograms. So mainly this technology, especially when applied in combination with text simplifications tools and other tools, is able to reduce cognitive complexity of tasks, such as reading work documents, email, web pages, chats, etc. And also here again, allowing people with disabilities to be part of social groups, for instance, and social media groups. Now, indeed, we are getting to Microsoft, who is, in my opinion, doing a great job in terms of AI for accessibility, or putting together projects on AI for accessibility. I will not go through all of the initiatives that they have. They have a beautiful website. You can go there and connect. But I would just like to highlight maybe two of them. The first one is basically the AI tutor, which is using speech recognition with a braille display that basically empowers students in braille literacy via gamification, so that they can practice independently or during distance learning, for instance. And the second one I will highlight on this slide is the AI assistant. AI assistant is using text-to-speech and speech recognition and language to understand language understanding, and also computer vision, to give blind and low vision test takers an alternative to in-person learning or readings, for instance, and also writing through the AI-powered conversational experience. And here, AI, again, for accessibility, one of the projects that stands out from Microsoft in terms of communication and connection, I think, is a specific research that is looking into how can we use AI to understand non-standard speech patterns. I mentioned that as well before. So there are other solutions as well out there, but this research project in particular targets people with autism and other types of diseases that, you know, hopefully will make their interaction easier, and also basically the communication more fluent. And the last one from Microsoft, their amazing VR kind of job or algorithm, interview training algorithm that helps it basically helps people with disabilities to, in particular with autism, to prepare for a job interview by detecting when they are in a stress moment, and also detecting their attention span from themselves and also from the interviewer. So this is a solution that can be used from an employer on their dashboard as well. And I think it's great that someone is looking into that as well and giving people more tools to join the employment and the job market. Very quickly on two things or two companies that have kind of adapted themselves during Corona, but also before. And Laura already mentioned Chief Accessibility Officer from Microsoft. I will not insist on that, but one thing that I found really interesting reading about her and about her work was basically that many of the features in Teams during Corona time, for example, you know, when we raise a hand to say something, were basically driven by a strategy of inclusion. And this specific raising hand feature was included after feedback from users experiencing anxiety around when to interrupt the conversation. But you know, it also had a result and significant benefits for those with disabilities or impairments. And another amazing case that I would like to highlight is Paul Smith. He's the leader of digital accessibility from Berkeley. So they also have a huge agenda in terms of accessibilities in their company and for their users and customers as well. And during Corona, they had to adapt very quickly. So they had dedicated a special service line and support line for people with disabilities. And also they put in place some practical measures, such as contactless wearables that the customer could top up for family or friends to then take to do their shopping without having to give them their credit card or debit card. And also they reviewed, for instance, their talking ATMs to confirm that user journey spoke well for blind and visually impaired customers as well. So I thought that was a great kind of advancements from their side. And I think now is the moment for us to move to the breakout sessions. I think you can see, I hope you can see my slide. And basically in this breakout sessions, you'll have around 20 minutes to exchange with each other. And we have highlighted two main questions for you to discuss, but feel free to, to discuss also some other important aspects. So the first question would be, what challenges face people with different abilities and could potentially be solved with artificial intelligence? If you could, maybe name 3 priorities. And then what are, in your opinion, the main issues with existing AI solutions? Is it the price, access, maintenance, etc.? Would really love to hear your thoughts on this. And yeah, and without further ado, I think we can move to the breakout rooms.
Elena?
Yes.
Yeah, we have some technical issues with breakout session rooms, so maybe we can leave these 20 minutes to share impressions or ask questions, and just maybe to share in these 20 minutes all together.
Very good.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Mm-hmm. Sounds very good.
Valer, again, I'm joining this one first time. It's very exciting. I love it. But again, I cannot keep my mouth shut. I have 2 questions. The eye tracking stuff, is it related to some glasses stuff, or is just with the monitor, how that works? And secondly, it was something about Microsoft assistive technologies, accessibility. Is this based on LUIS? In case you are on that technical stuff, because I like to believe that I can learn and deal with some technical things on Amazon machine learning.
Yeah, so thank you for the questions. We are as technical as we can be. If you have, maybe questions that are even more technical than what we can cover, I'm happy to link you with some of the experts that collaborate with us in AIDA. So to your first question, as far as I understand, these are not classes in particular, but it's basically an algorithm. If you want to monitor, a device that will monitor the eye movement and would measure what needs to be measured, basically to understand if the person is happy, unhappy, wants that letter or doesn't want that letter. So these are not glasses, but is more as a system that would monitor the eye movement. Now, in terms of what kind of technology is behind it, I cannot I cannot really tell you.
I forget it.
But
bad question.
There are no bad questions. I think it is a very good question, and we would be happy to organize maybe a more in-depth.
Now that you helped me on that, I don't think that, or I do not believe, I haven't seen, heard, read about Microsoft developing on the area of glasses like Google and other competitors. That was the main reason of my question. So
yeah. But thank you very much. We definitely want this interaction as this exchange as interactive as possible. So do we have other questions maybe to both organizations now?
If I could rather jump in, if it's convenient now. Hi everyone, this is Angela. I'm calling in from Bulgaria. And I guess I would rather like to talk a little bit more about what the previous speaker was asking about, and that would be Microsoft. And if I could just say that in terms of Microsoft, they do have an initiative, which is rather like a foundation, and it has been working since 2018. It's called AI for Good. And what Elena was presenting previously, it was part of it in relation to people with disabilities. But at the end of the day, the initiatives that are being encompassed there, whether it's AI for art or for healthcare or accessibility, humanitarian action or cultural heritage, I do believe that all those different aspects and sectors diffused by AI technology, they do reflect back on people with disabilities just as well, because at the end of the day, it's all about well-being, about people getting access, people being enabled to communicate and having a better standard for their lives. And I think in that sense, that would answer the question regarding Microsoft and other companies. For instance, recently there was an article on Microsoft collaborating with one of the biggest South Korean telecom companies, SK. It's not just a telecom company, it's rather a conglomerate, but anyway. And what they were trying to do is cooperating to improve the information and communication technology capabilities of people with disabilities. So basically they were trying to push on ICT capabilities for people who currently do not have them through different trainings and helping them get employment in South Korea, which is rather difficult when you think about the situation in countries with rather traditional approaches. And just to end my intervention, I guess, I was rather thinking on two issues that might be a little bit complex. The first one would be a lot of people, at least what I've been looking up and down and talking to some people who are interested on the topic, would be concerns regarding AI actually perpetuating disability bias when it comes to machine learning, when it comes to applications, when it comes to larger database, because there is some, I'm playing a little bit of the devil's advocate here, because some scientists do claim that there's some issues with gender and sex, etc., being biased. So why can't that include people with disabilities as well as the marker? And my second concern, I would say rather a more permeating one, would be about people with disabilities, the numbers we have, because so many disabilities are not being categorized and treated as disabilities in a lot of countries around the world. Like, for instance, there are countries where psychological trauma or brain damage or even depression is not treated to some extent as an illness that needs to be treated or as a disability. So I would say that there are a lot of people who drop between, they cannot be reached because they are not categorized that way. And even if they can be reached, there remains the issues of how to approach culturally sensitive societies who, for instance, have trouble even accepting aid in terms of, for instance, mosquito nets, because they do believe it's not something that would work for them. So how are we gonna actually promote using AI technology to those kind of societies, and how can we be actually helpful, not just say we want to help and enforce our own beliefs and our own views? So that's it for me for now, I guess. Thanks.
It's me, Valer again. I cannot say more that Angela is fully right in what he's saying, what she's saying, sorry. Because data quality, when we are going to machine learning algorithms, it's a crucial factor in getting the right predictors. And yes, you are so right, Angela.
Yeah, well, thanks to you both. I think the the issues and the challenges that we are facing related to ethics, etc., are very real ones, and it's consuming a lot of energy from the researcher side, and also from sorry, we have some background noise again. Yeah. From the researcher side and also from the corporate side. I think they are looking into this, and the risk and the challenges remain, of course, and it's definitely something to keep in our minds when we talk about artificial intelligence. There are benefits, there are also challenges and downsides related to the data sets also Valer was mentioning, and the way in which we also perceive disability in general. So I hope that in our fourth talk, which we'll have on the 14th of January, we will go a little bit more in depth in terms of AI ethics, responsibilities, challenges, etc. And the speakers will try to highlight how they try to tackle that challenge from the researcher side, and how they try to deal with the data sets they have, so that they ensure that their data sets are clean, I would say, and are of high quality. So we still don't have a solution and a clear roadmap on how we are going to do that. But one of the ways to engage with it, and one of the ways to fight against it, I would say, is to discuss more about it and try to understand what it means exactly, and then strengthen the civil society, strengthen the citizens, the individual, in understanding what AI means and how it can be beneficial or not that beneficial for them, and basically force those that are more in power or better position to make regulation, to create and develop tools, to do it in the right way. Great thank you for your contributions. Do we have other questions?
Emmanuel raised the hand.
Hello. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, hi Emmanuel, we can hear you, but yes.
Okay. Yeah, great. Actually, it has been a great meeting. I'd like to congratulate everyone who has been participating on this call. Just like to share a little bit about Tanzania, the background about the people with a disability and the challenge they're just facing. And we can see how we can highlight the methodology and the approach, how we can serve these people. In Tanzania, we have about 4 million living with a disability. These people are often among the poorest and most marginalized in the societies. And this has just caused the significant changes in the health, employment, and education. And we see a lot of pupils, about 48% that don't included in the schools. So this is a big challenge. And I've just tried to talk about the technology in order to manifest on these people with the disabilities. How does it like to seek everyone to come up with an agenda or a project that all of us we can implement in order to serve these people with disabilities. As we know, in some areas, mainly in Africa continent, this disability are associated with superstition powers. So we needed to work upon this to develop these science technology tools in order to eliminate all these issues. So I think the most my concern that to see how we can develop a project that we members of IDA and the other institutions that we can see how we can use this technology to highlight it for the people with disabilities. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Manuel, for your contributions. It's very much linked to what Angela was saying before, right? In the sense that disabilities is not recognized as such in some countries. People don't want to understand, or they don't want to say they have a disability, or as you are saying, is linked to superstition. So it's a lot of working with the mindsets and with the cultures. I think AI is just a tool, is not the whole solution. It just provides part of the solution. And as you were saying, having collaborative projects that would tackle the culture, the mindset, and the technology behind it, and will definitely be inclusive and making sure that all stakeholders are involved, could be one way to go about it. But thank you very much for sharing your experience from Tanzania. Thank you. Wonderful. Do we have other contributions?
It's me, Valero again. What was that mapping hood again? I was having some troubles actually filling the whole message. Mapping hood is a sort of working type of Google thing. Did I get this right?
You mean the app from Toronto?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, so the app from Toronto is basically similar to Google Maps. Mm-hmm. Yes, you mean the app from Toronto for Google Maps, but for pedestrians, and in particular for people with disabilities. So they would provide more information related to safety, the shortest path and the safest path to go to wherever they need to go, being workplace or visits or medical assistance, etc.
Would it be like someone that can go on a Donauinsel can get in and out safely without actually wasting more than 1 hour if it miss one entry out?
So you mean that could be beneficial for many people? It's for pedestrians again. It's not by car.
Pedestrian, bikers, you name
it. So yeah, reach out to them and propose that to bring it to Vienna.
But this is only to Canada or Montreal?
They started in Canada, so in Toronto. They are so it's in Toronto, but as you know, technology can be replicated if there is interest.
I love Donauinsel, as obviously.
Wonderful, thank you, Valer. I see Angela is active on the chat. Thank you very much for sharing the resources and for your contributions as well. Okay, I think
Emmanuel is raising a hand again.
Yes, Emmanuel. Emmanuel, can you hear us? I think we lost him, no? Or Emmanuel, can you hear us? Yeah, well, it seems like he does not really want to. He has maybe nothing to say. His hand is down now. We have had an amazing discussion. Thank you all for your contributions and participation. It was really exciting for us to put these materials together, and was lovely to have you with us. I think we are coming to the end of our discussion. I will just share with you maybe our contact details from both organizations. Yes, here you go. In case you want to reach out to us, feel free to do so. We are right now on Facebook, for instance, streaming. There is also an Instagram account and many others. And Selma, Laura, Eva, do you want to say something at the end of our talk?
I would like to thank everybody for joining our joint talk today. And we really hope that the information that you got during these 1 hour was useful for you. And it will be also like food for thought in the future, how everybody can do like just a little bit from themselves and try to provide more accessible environment and to be more open-minded and supportive for the inclusion of persons with disabilities. With these talks, we really would like to include more people into the world of AI and technologies. So yeah, this is what we're trying to reach together. And yeah, we'll be happy to see you and take part also in our future meetups. So yeah, we'll be looking forward to have you during the next one in December. Thank you very much again.
Great, thank you, Eva. And maybe one last call, don't forget that we will have 2 upcoming events, upcoming talks. So one on 10th of December and the second one on the 14th of January. You can find all that information on our Meetup account. So please register and join and spread the word. That would be a great support for us all. Thank you very much. And I wish you all a wonderful evening.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice evening.